What a journey, guys. What a journey in. There is something about returning to getting on trains first thing in the morning that just sends the fear of God in me. Haven't done it for a long time. I've obviously been at home with the children, and life is very, 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 very different. Very, very, very different. Anyway, guys, so this morning, good morning to you, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world listening to this right now. Today, we're going to touch upon parenthood. Specifically, my journey so far. I have two very bright, very joyful toddlers, both 2 and 3 years old. That's right, 2 and 3 years old. And here's the thing, they're born on exactly the same day, but 1 year apart. My daughter, born at the height of the pandemic. But let's reverse it slightly. Let's just go back. So it all started when I met my husband, Cookie. Now we met, how did we meet? We met on those swipey things, swipe left, swipe right, and it was instantaneous. We were head over heels. Oh my goodness. We were head over heels. And by day 2, I'd told him that we were going to get married. You're the man I was going to marry. And then 3 weeks later, we got engaged. Jumped on a plane, got engaged in Spain. And it was that whirlwind romance. So anyway, we knew automatically that we wanted to have children. We tried for the year. Nothing happened. We then got married. Exactly. We've got to think about dates in my family. Exactly a year to the day that we met. So we met on the Friday, and then a year later the day, we got married. And so we'd been trying to have kids from day one, and nothing was really happening. And I was in a really, really toxic environment, work-wise, very stressful. And for the first time, I just decided to leave a job without having another job to go to, really, which was it was a bit daunting. It was really, really daunting. And Cookie, my husband, said, look, let's cut our cloth accordingly and let's just suck it up and let's just see where the year takes us, the summer takes us. So I was wanting to do some consultancy work, and I was feeling really low. I wasn't falling pregnant, and I'd gone to the doctors, and, the first thing they hit me with was, you're getting older now, and the chances of you falling pregnant are pretty slim, right? So you're a little bit overweight, and the stats are almost against you because women of your ethnicity can have difficulties at this age in conceiving. So I was being bombarded with all this information, and it never happened. So I said, do you know what? Let's go out and let's get a dog. Let's get a dog. Because, I don't know, we were wanting to nest. So we got a dog. And of course, we brought the dog home in August that year. And September came, and I felt sick. And I was pregnant. So I was then pregnant with a dog. Yeah. And not working. So my whole life got turned upside down. I'd always worked. And then now I was with a dog and pregnant, and Cookie was out working. Anyway. So we then started looking for somewhere to live. Stick with me, guys, on this one. Stick with me. Looking for somewhere to live whilst being pregnant. Eventually found somewhere. And then decided we need to do a fixer-up, doer-upper. It wasn't the house that I wanted. Let me just point out, it was not the house that I wanted. We put an offer in somewhere else, and Cookie just fell in love with this house that we'd seen, but I knew that we couldn't afford it, so I wasn't investing in this house. Anyway, we found a way. I sold my flat, and then we moved into what I considered to be a place of misery. It was so tired and worn in areas that I didn't want to move in. I didn't want to do a renovation. I didn't want to do a project. I was heavily pregnant, but the estate agents assured me that we would move in complete before the baby was born. And of course, that didn't happen. It didn't happen. So along comes my son. I'm trying to figure out who I am, where I am, and the house is being ripped apart at such a speed that I don't really know what's going on. And of course, my husband Cookie is in his element. We then decided to throw in a project amongst it all and volunteer ourselves to be on a TV show. Now, I don't know what's wrong with us. I really don't know what's wrong with us at this point. I had a 3-month-old baby. I was moving around sofa surfing whilst our house was being ripped apart. My dog, incidentally as well, came into season. So, she was having a period in the house whilst the house was falling apart. We had to then move into a hotel, which I thought was going to be for a couple of weeks whilst they cut the water off. And no, it wasn't. It was for 9 weeks. And on the 7th week, of being in the hotel, something wasn't right. I was very, very stressed. Cookie was going out to work every day. I was with a dog wearing a nappy having her period. I was with my son where I was having difficulties in breastfeeding. Didn't know what I was doing. And I should add as well, I was a lot older than my friends, my closest friends. I'm a lot older than when they had children. And their children are now 8 and 9 and 10. And I felt very isolated because conveniently all my friends had decided to forget about what the early years were like. And I'm the youngest of 4 and my siblings all have children. So there wasn't really anybody to talk to. My mum passed away 20 years ago. So I was on my own. And you know what? Mums need mums, right? Mums need mums. So anyway, I digress. Was feeling awful in this hotel. Cookie was at work every day and I had my son strapped to me going onto site to project manage this house and just not feeling myself. So 13 pregnancy tests later that all showed positive, I found out I was pregnant again with my daughter. And I just wanted to scream. I wanted to scream because I had a baby and I was pregnant again. We all know how it happens. Only takes the one chance. But being told that I was going to have difficulties in falling pregnant, and there was no tests as well from my doctors. They just took one look at me and said, "You're fat, you're black, and you're old, and there's gonna be problems." So I kind of gave up after the first year, only to then fall pregnant and then to fall pregnant again. We got caught out. Anyway, so we were still renovating the house. We were doing this TV show. It was all really, really hectic. And then we completed at the end of the year. And I told the builders, look, guys, any snagging that needs doing, come back in January. We've just had all these TV cameras here. We're not interested. Just please go. Oh, and the TV show was George Clark's Old House, New Home. Anyway, so they left. And then in January, I called them up and said, look, pregnancy's kind of second trimester's a bit all over the place, but come back whenever you're ready. And by then they'd already started looking or on other projects. So I wasn't really their priority. And I'd paid them 100%. So they were coming stupidly. So they were coming back in February. By of which time in 2020, there was something circulating in the air of a virus. The virus we all know what I'm talking about, right? Of a virus. Anyway, all my family and friends said, look, you're having back-to-back pregnancies here and you are going to have children, 2 under 1 at one point and 2 under 2. It's going to be hellish. It's going to be a challenge. But don't you worry, we're going to be there for you. So I don't have my parents, but Cookie's parents said that they would be on board. My sister was going to come up and visit. My friends were all going to come round. It was going to be great because I have a very young child at home, under 1, and I'm now pregnant again. March comes, that Prime Minister gets on TV and says it's about to be a lock-in, a lockdown. I've got to say that my heart sank. My heart really, really sank. I am in essentially a very new relationship. We met on the Friday. We confessed our love the next day. It was quicker than a Craig David song. I appreciate this. I know this. And we walked in kind of blind in the relationship, but everything happened at speed and it seemed to be getting faster and faster and faster. So a new relationship, our house had just been renovated, thank the Lord, but there was still a lot of snagging to do. The country, the world was coming to a standstill because there was a virus out and no one knew anything about it. And I was pregnant. I knew nothing about parenthood because the first time round with my son, was still very new and fresh in my mind. My labour with my son was an emergency C-section, and by coincidence, my daughter was a planned C-section. They'd given me 2 dates, but because of the pandemic, she was due on the Sunday, the 17th of the month. And then actually what happened was I selected the day thinking, oh, look, that's the same day my son was born. And I walked away and I got home and I realised, actually, do I want my kids' birthdays to be on the same day? And by the time I had a chance to actually think about it in my head and call the obstetrician, they said, look, we're in a pandemic at the moment. You cannot start changing your dates. The dates you've given are the dates your daughter is going to be born. And that was that. So it was a hot, hot day. We didn't think that my husband was going to be able to come in. We were scheduled for 7 a.m. And, we get there and it's like, there's a big waiting list. It's like a guest list to get through the front door. Your name's not down, you're not coming in. There's a bit of confusion. We get there eventually and I go down at 2:00 in the afternoon, by which my husband's outside in the sun on probably the hottest day of the pandemic. Incidentally, it was the same day that Prime Minister was out gallivanting, drinking, and I was in a hot-ass surgery giving birth. Anyway, my daughter arrives. And she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. But I'm still in a hot-ass hospital with many other women wanting to leave. So then I get home and I've now got 2 babies under 2 years, and it was something that I didn't expect. I look back now and the entire process has been a fog. New parents with no external help. Unlike with my son, who we had the health visitors, we had everything. I had the odd family member coming around. It was just the 4 of us, our dog, in a new home. And I thank the Lord it was all done. It was all done. So I had my husband looking at me looking at my husband, so much going on. Hormones are leaving my body and I've got 2 children that are looking at me, expecting me to have all the answers. And I didn't have the answers and I still don't have the answers. The thing about parenting, what I'm finding at the moment, is that especially when you're looking externally for the answers, especially if you're looking on social media for the answers, especially if you're looking out to society, there is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in how you parent. It's messy. It's confusing. One minute you feel heroic and then the next you're on your knees praying for an answer. I went out to an event yesterday and I exist on social media, and it was an event, and I met a lovely couple, and they basically had, they've got this very pristine life, a very focused life online, everything's in place, and she just recently had a baby. And I was just sitting back in my chair saying, I love my husband, right? My husband's a very hands-on man, he's there with the children, but ultimately, the children, I'm their primary carer. I'm the one that's thinking about primary schools for my son next year. I'm the one that doesn't sleep to make sure, looking at them eagerly, having a mirror over them when they've got a chesty cold, like making sure they're breathing properly. My husband is there. He's there for us, but I carry that extensive emotions. Anyway, so this couple yesterday, and she had this pristine look about her, and I just flopped into the chair saying, you know what, I really wish my husband could just pull his finger out. He could pull his finger out and just plan the breakfasts, plan the clothes, because whenever I leave the house, and I hold my hands up to it, guys. I hold my hands up to it just to make life easier for my children. I will map out the clothes. I will map out the food. I will map out the drinks. I will pack the bag the night before and make sure. So all my husband has to do is put them in and take them to nursery. I don't have the answers, but all I do know is that my children, I think they're happy. They tell me they're happy and they're healthy And I can only just keep making this up because I don't have that maternal person to go to, and it's quite difficult. And I look around in my very, very small circles at the moment, and being older as well, I find it quite difficult because with age, people sometimes can attach wisdom and knowledge. I have no idea what I'm doing. So for the younger mums out there, the 22-year-olds to the 45-year-old mothers having children, we still do not know, because when we birth our children, we're being reborn ourselves. I'm not the woman I was 4 years ago. I'm completely different. And I'm still trying to fudge my life, like figure out who I want to be when I grow older. And my children have given me so much more focus and so much more confidence in knowing that if I can birth children and raise children, especially during what we've all been through in the last 2.5 years, then I can move mountains. Sometimes I have to have these quiet conversations with myself, because when I'm online, I'm seeing like mothers doing all these different things and doing podcasts, writing books, having supper clubs and all the rest of it. You can start to feel like you're not doing enough. You can have moments where you feel you should be doing more. But we only get highlights online. It's only a brief veneer of that person's life. I remember I follow this woman, and she's very lovely, she's very brilliant. Unless you're scrolling back to her life, right, good few years back, you're not going to know that she shares a nanny, right? And she's not like she's hiding it, but her other, like on the top of her feed, she's not going to necessarily talk about it. So I see her doing book clubs, supper clubs, out there living her life, drinking water, doing exercises while straddling a new baby, and being with her husband, being the wife, being the best friend. And you can start thinking, okay, right, so I've got the resources, I've only got 2 children, she's got herself 5 kids, and she's doing pretty well. And then you can start like doom scrolling. And these platforms will make you believe that you're not doing enough. You're doing more than enough. Like I said, some days you're feeling heroic that you can get up and you can leave the house on time. Because leaving the house on time with children is something that is an Olympic sport. No one prepares you for it at all in the slightest, especially when we are potty training. Potty training I'm finding it really difficult at the moment, potty training. My son has this, I don't know how he manages to do it. He was standing in the front room and his nappy's off, right? So we've got the potty there and it's a flight of stairs up to the toilet, but we've got the potty just in case. Son, do you need to go to the toilet? No. You sure? No. You sure you want to go for a wee-wee? No. Want to go poo-poo? No. No more poo-poo left, mummy. Cool, okay. So I turn around to attend to his sister. It's a matter of seconds. I turn around and there's like, I don't know, a glimpse, a projectile like shooting across the room and landing on, thank God for hardwood floors, and I decided to have hardwood floors and not carpet, because obviously I've got a dog as well and it's easier to scrape up. But it's a lot of, I struggle. I'm still struggling with potty training, but it's another journey. You think you've cracked it. You think you've cracked weaning. You think you've cracked potty training, and something else comes along and bites you in the arse. It bites you in the arse. And there is no right or wrong reasons. I started reading a book on potty training. I think it was by a man. And look, I'm not sexist. I'm not. But, like I said, my husband, he's like, and he's working full time as well, right? And essentially, I guess I've been working online as well. So we're both working and we're both earning. Yet that responsibility and making sure that our child, is pooing in a potty and his bum is wiped, is me. And yet my husband does take time to do it, but it's me that's changing the nappies, bringing down the nappies, making sure that it's all done, that the nappies are the right size. Like the world of different sizes of nappies, I'm not even going to run into it, but it's just a learning curve. This is one of the hardest jobs that wasn't didn't have a description that doesn't come with a description. And I don't know what I'm doing. And, people looking in on, and I try and be as honest as possible on my Instagram. I try and be as honest as possible and show up being who I am. And someone said to me, it seems like you've got it all together. It seems like you've got it all together. I'm not one that's about to get my phone out and click record when I'm crying. If I was recording and I'm crying, I'm going to let the tears flow. I'm going to show it you all. But if I'm crying, I can't find my camera quick enough, then the moment has passed. But I have had some really, really tough days in parenting. I want to allow my husband the ability to parent, but I want to also want my own space, right? But at the same time, I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. It's very difficult, and it's put a massive pressure on our relationship. Like I have to schedule to see Cookie on a regular basis. And for anyone that doesn't follow me on Sophia Cook on Instagram, a bit of a plug right there. My husband Cookie, because of what happened, because of paying 100% to these contractors and then disappearing because of the pandemic for 2.5 years, he had to pick up a saw and start doing the whole snagging himself. So he has developed a hobby, a very good hobby, of making things around the house, repairing and making things. So whilst he's making all these bits of furniture, repairing things around the house and making furniture, I'm left holding the children. And his hobby is just blown up. We've just got ourselves a mega shed. And in the mega shed, he makes these things. And it's great. But at the same time, whilst he's making and, I'm helping to facilitate his dreams, I'm left holding the children. Now, he does do the same for me, but it's almost like he falls into a mindset of thinking, you're the mother, you're very good with the children, and you don't really want to let me parent, so therefore you do it. But actually, I need to allow him to do that. So if you are struggling and you feel like you need some time alone, and you're able to, and your partner, husband, whoever is available, allow them to care for your children. And that separation anxiety that you're feeling, we need to move over and get over it. We need to push it to one side. And not to say that your feelings aren't valid, but push it to one side. Find something for you to do. And this is exactly what it is that I'm looking to do for myself right now. And also, the main reason whilst I decided to do this podcast and reach out is I have a very small community online, but I know that from finding people out there, especially mothers, especially during the pandemic, I found a very, very small collective of women that I can reach out to and that I've now met in real life that I would consider to be friends, because mums need mums, whether that's your maternal mother or other mothers to support you, because you cannot do this on your own. You cannot do this on your own. And sometimes your partner, the other person, maybe that partner, maybe the father of your children isn't there. But who are you going to lean into? And if, like me, your parents are both passed on to the next life, it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to know what you're doing, but to know that you're doing an okay job. A woman stopped me on the bus the other day, and both my children were screaming. And it took every fibre in my body not to scream back. And so what I did is that I knelt down whilst the bus was moving. This is a position I'm actually quite good at now. It's amazing. Becoming a mother, I can contort my ways in ways that I didn't even know was possible. So I kind of was on one knee and I put my other leg out to hold the pram, and I just listened to what was going on with my children. And they wanted to swap places on the pram. And I just said that I know that it's very difficult at the moment. I know that you're really, really upset. allow your sisters to swap places. But I was sweating. I was profusely sweating because it was a packed bus. And I had to make sure, even though the buggy was on brake, I had to lift my one leg up like this, like lift it there. You see that? Lift my leg up there. And lift it, well, it's more to the side actually, and keep it in place. And the lady, while she was exiting the bus, she said to me, I think you're doing a really good job. And I think you're a good mum. And I was just sobbing because I don't get to hear it. And I'm not looking for that validation. But sometimes in those moments of being very, very frantic, that's all you want to hear. That's all you want to hear. That you're doing a good job. And there are things that I'm dealing with as an adult, especially, I keep going back to the lockdown, right? I keep talking about it, but I've had 2020 for me brought up so much that I'm now having to unpick, relearn about myself, about my childhood, as well as parenting. So I don't know if you're out there at the moment, and this isn't just applied to parents, carers of young children. Just know that you're doing the best you can on any given day. It's very rewarding, but when you're parenting, and if there have been unresolved, I'm not even going to say, for me, there are different degrees of trauma, right? But a lot of that in my life, in my childhood, and I consider myself that I had a good childhood with my mum. My dad wasn't around after I turned 6. It's like in and out of my life. But I consider to have a good childhood. But I feel that parenting my children, I'm almost now parenting myself. So go easy on yourselves, guys. Go easy, go soft, go gentle. There are going to be times when you just feel like you are not enough. You are more than enough. And I'm projecting onto you now because this is what I tell myself every single day I'm with my children. You're doing great. You're okay. Some days I smash it. Some days they're dressed on time. They're out the door on time. I've read to them. I fed them their 5 veg and fruits. I've given them water when they wanted juice. And then some days I'm like, I cannot do this. I don't want to take you outside. I don't want to watch any more programs. And I don't want you clinging on me. I need space. And that is, you're enough, parents. You're enough. And if like me, you feel like you need to do it all, then just stop. Take time back. Make sure you're getting time for yourself. Make sure you're taking that little step outside. Make sure you're not just taking time to be with your mates, but learning to be on your own again is really, really important within those spaces. Whether it's 20 minutes, walk around the park, whether it's having coffee, whether it's doing your business on your own, right? But yeah, take some time out, guys. Take your time out. This is me trying to tell you that you're doing an amazing job. And if no one's told you that today, take this with you. Take it with you, because sometimes parents need the support of other parents. Sometimes we need to give that love we're giving to our children. Sometimes we need to, not sometimes, all the time, we need to start with ourselves. You can't expect to save and love your child. It's a bit of a cliche. It's a bit of a RuPaul thing. Not a cliche, but a bit cheesy. But I know RuPaul says this. How the hell are you supposed to love someone else if you can't love yourself? Don't let society, don't let social media think that there's people out there winning and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover. Let me know if there's any parents that you think that need to be celebrated. I'm always looking for people to have these conversations with. I'm Sophia Cook, and I guess you're listening to Sophia Cook's podcast. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and let's wait till the next time. Thanks. See you later.